The massive alien ship Inevitable Dominion sat like a dark cloud at the edge of our solar system. Fleet Commander Zar Keth, a tall being with blue skin, looked at the 3D image of Earth floating before him. His reports told him that humans were a Level 3 species. They had basic space travel but mostly stayed on their home planet. "Start the takeover plan," Zar Keth ordered. During his 300 years working for the Galactic hegemony, he had brought 17 other alien species under their control. Some joined willingly, amazed by the hegemony's advanced technology. Others needed to be forced, but none had ever successfully fought back. On Earth, Admiral Samantha Nash felt her heart race as she received the first message from the alien fleet. As head of Earth's First Contact Division, she had spent her whole career preparing for this day, though she never really thought it would happen while she was alive. "They want to meet with us," said Communications Officer Alan Reyes, keeping his voice steady even though his hands shook slightly. "There are many ships out there with technology far beyond ours. They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony." Nash swallowed hard. Humans had only recently built permanent bases on Mars and Europa. Their best warships had basic fusion engines and electromagnetic weapons. If these aliens wanted to attack, "Alert all defense outposts," she ordered, "and call the Security Council right away. Tell them we have a Code Omega situation." The meeting was set at a neutral place, the new research station on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Nash went with a small team that included Dr. Patricia Summers, Earth's best alien language expert, Major Daniel Carter from Military Intelligence, and Kevin Monroe, a civilian advisor known for his skill in solving international conflicts. The alien group included Zar Keth and 3 others with see-through, blue-tinted skin that reflected the bright lights of the station. Each had 4 eyes, 2 big and 2 small, that blinked separately as they looked at the humans. "We welcome you to our solar system," Nash said, following the carefully planned greeting. Zar Keth made a hand gesture that their translation computer showed meant dismissal. "The hegemony has decided your system is good for integration," he said flatly. "Your resources and people will serve our greater empire. Fighting back would be wasteful." Nash kept her face calm despite her racing heart. "Perhaps we could talk about terms that would benefit both our peoples." The alien commander made a noise that sounded like harsh laughter. "Terms? You don't understand. This is not a discussion but an announcement. We have studied what you can do. Your strongest weapons would barely scratch our shield technology. Your fastest ships cannot escape ours. We can easily block your communications." Major Carter stepped forward. "And yet you chose to talk to us instead of just attacking." "Just a formality," Zar Keth replied. "The hegemony prefers to use minimal resources. Surrender keeps your infrastructure and population intact. You have 7 Earth days to prepare your leaders for the transition. After that, we will begin the SAO integration process whether you agree or not." As the meeting ended, Kevin Monroe came close to Nash and whispered, "They're too confident. They've made guesses about what we can do based only on what they can see." Nash nodded slowly. "And they don't know about Project Threshold." "Exactly," Monroe agreed. "They have no idea what humans can do when we're backed into a corner." When they returned to Earth, Nash walked into the underground command center where General Rick Paxton waited with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Their faces were grim as they watched the screens showing alien ships now moving through the solar system. "How bad is it?" Paxton asked. "Bad," Nash said. "They want to absorb us into their empire. No negotiations, no compromise. We have 1 week before they start taking over, with or without our cooperation." "Can we fight them?" asked General Sandra Wright, head of Space Defense. Nash shook her head. "Not with our regular weapons. Their technology is centuries ahead of what we show publicly." She paused, looking around the room. "It's time to activate Project Threshold." The room grew silent. Project Threshold was Earth's most closely guarded secret, an experimental weapon system based on quantum physics that had never been tested in actual combat. "Are you sure?" Paxton asked quietly. "We have no choice," Nash replied. "Monroe thinks they're overconfident. They expect us to either surrender or fight in ways they understand. They've never met humans before." Admiral John Rivera spoke up. The USS Defender has been fitted with the threshold system. Captain Steve Lawson and his crew have been training on it for months. One ship against their fleet? General Wright frowned. One ship they can't see coming, Nash corrected. One ship with a weapon that breaks the laws of physics as they understand them. And most importantly, one ship they don't know exists. Paxton's expression hardened as he made his decision. Prepare the Defender for immediate launch, and get me a direct line to Captain Lawson. As the room burst into activity, Nash stared at the alien ships on the display. They thought humans would surrender meekly to save their lives. They were about to learn their first lesson about humanity. We don't run, we fight. Deep under the Rocky Mountains in the old Cheyenne Mountain Base, General Jack Wilson stood before Earth's military leaders. Everyone was quiet as they looked at the 3D map showing alien ships spread throughout the solar system. They've set up blockades around Mars, Europa, and our moon bases, Wilson said. Their technology is about 300 years ahead of what we normally use. Normally is the key word, said Dr. Emma Roberts, the lead scientist of Project Threshold. She was a small woman with glasses and gray hair tied back in a simple ponytail, but her mind had changed how humans understood quantum physics forever. How is Project Threshold coming along? Asked Admiral Henry Davis, the head of Earth's Defense Forces. Dr. Roberts touched her tablet, and a new 3D image appeared, a diagram of what looked like a regular Earth warship, but with major changes to its main systems. The USS Defender now has the threshold drive and weapons fully installed, she explained. It should be able to do everything our computer tests showed it could. Should be able to? Repeated Admiral Lisa Chen with doubt in her voice. We're betting all of humanity's future on something we've never actually tested in real combat. Didn't have time for proper testing, Roberts admitted. But the science is solid. The quantum field will make the Defender exist in a state of possibility rather than as normal matter. Their sensors won't be able to find it, and their energy weapons should pass right through it. Wilson nodded seriously. And what about our weapons? Roberts kept her face calm. The entropy cascade weapon attacks the basic forces that hold matter together. When it hits their shields, it should cause a chain reaction that will— In simple terms, please, Doctor, Chen interrupted. It will rip their ships apart down to the smallest particles, Roberts finished. The room went quiet again as everyone thought about what this meant. Who's commanding the Defender? Davis finally asked. Captain Laura Shepard, Wilson answered. She's been part of Project Threshold from the start. Her crew has been training on the systems for the past year and a half, even if only in simulations. Davis nodded slowly. One ship against their entire fleet. Even with this amazing technology, those aren't good odds. That's why we're keeping it secret from the aliens, Wilson explained. As far as they know, we're thinking about surrendering. Meanwhile, Captain Shepard will sneak the Defender through their blockade to attack their main ship. If we can take out their leaders and show what we can do, we might force them to back off. And if we can't? Chen asked what everyone was thinking. Wilson's jaw tightened. Then Captain Shepard has backup orders to escape our solar system and find other civilizations who might help us. The Defender carries complete records of human history, culture, and science. Even if Earth falls, humanity will survive somewhere. Onyo, the bridge of the USS Defender, hidden among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Laura Shepard looked over the mission details one last time. At 42 years old, she had spent half her life in space, commanding everything from small research ships to battle cruisers during the short but fierce resource wars of the 2170s. All systems are ready, reported her second-in-command, Commander Ryan Garcia. Threshold drive is powered up. Weapons are online. Shepard studied the tactical screen. The alien flagship Inevitable Dominion sat just beyond Mars, surrounded by a protective wall of smaller ships. Check communications with Earth Command, she ordered. Lieutenant Amy Parker at the communications station nodded. Quantum link is stable, Captain. We can talk to Earth no matter how far we go or what tries to block us. Shepard took a deep breath. Send this message to General Wilson. Defender is starting Operation Longshot. We'll make Earth proud. How my turned to her pilot. Lieutenant Collins, start the threshold drive. Let's show these aliens they picked a fight with the wrong species. As the Defender powered up, the crew felt a strange, tingling sensation. The ship's edges began to blur and shimmer as the threshold drive activated. Through the viewports, the stars seemed to stretch and smear as light itself struggled to interact normally with the ship's altered state. Threshold field is stable at 85%, reported Science Officer Lisa Wright. We're now existing partly outside normal space-time. What does that mean for those of us who aren't physicists? Garcia asked. Wright smiled slightly. It means we're partly everywhere and nowhere at once, like a ghost ship that can still fire very real weapons. Shepard nodded, her expression determined. Set course for the inevitable Dominion. Maximum stealth approach. Let's see if we can get right next to them before they even know we're there. As the Defender moved forward, it passed silently through the outer sensor net of the alien fleet. For the first time since humans began exploring space, they had a true advantage over a technologically superior enemy. The hegemony had never encountered a species that could bend the laws of physics this way. Time to intercept with the alien flagship? Shepard asked. 43 minutes, Captain, replied the navigation officer. Shepard looked at the faces of her crew. They were scared, anyone would be, but they were ready. Humanity's first real battle against an alien empire was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. Battle stations, Shepard ordered quietly. Let's make history. The USS Defender shimmered like a heat mirage as the threshold drive worked its magic. For the crew, it felt strange, like being in several places at once, their minds stretched across different possibilities. Threshold field holding at 88%, reported Science Officer Lisa Wright. We are basically quantum ghosts now. What does that mean for normal people? Asked Commander Garcia. Wright smiled. It means we're partly everywhere and nowhere, like a ghost that can still throw punches. On the main screen, the stars looked weird and blurry as light itself couldn't properly interact with the ship's changed state. Set course for the inevitable. Dominion, Captain Shepard ordered. Maximum stealth approach. The Defender moved forward, passing right through the hegemony's outer patrol line without being detected. Their sensors, as advanced as they were, couldn't lock onto something that existed in a probability field rather than normal space. On the inevitable Dominion, Fleet Commander Zar Keth was looking over the plans for Earth's takeover. The humans have asked for another meeting, his assistant sub-commander Vexlor reported. They say they're preparing their surrender terms. Zar Keth made a gesture of satisfaction. As expected, their psychological profiles showed they would value survival over resistance. Start positioning our forces. I want transition centers set up on every continent within 3 Earth days of their surrender. Commander, a sensor operator suddenly called out. There's a strange energy reading near Patrol Sector 7. What kind of reading? Zar Keth asked. I can't tell, admitted the operator. It appears and disappears from sensors. It might be a system error. Run diagnostic checks, Zar Keth ordered dismissively. The humans have nothing that could get past our sensor network. Aboard the Defender, Captain Shepard watched as they came within firing range of the inevitable Dominion. Target their engines, she ordered. We want to disable them, not destroy them if possible. Lieutenant Reed, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies once we've fired. Entropy Cascade weapon is charged and locked on target, reported Lieutenant George Reed from the weapons station. Ready to fire. Shepard took a deep breath. Fire. The weapon didn't make any visible beam or projectile. Instead, reality itself seemed to bend in a straight line between the Defender and the Hegemony flagship. Where this distortion touched the massive ship's shields, they didn't so much fail as simply stop existing, the organized energy patterns, dissolving into random quantum noise. The effect continued through the hull, creating a jagged hole that tore through multiple decks. Secondary explosions rippled along the ship's side as power lines overloaded. On the bridge of the inevitable Dominion, chaos erupted. Warning alarms blared as systems failed across the ship. We're under attack, shouted the weapons officer. Shields have failed in sectors 12 through 27. Impossible, Zar Keth growled. Where is the attacking ship? Unknown, Sensors cannot find it. The ship shook as another Cascade weapon hit tore through the starboard weapons array. All vessels, Zarketh commanded, converge on these coordinates and form a defensive perimeter. The Defender shimmered back into normal space just long enough for the hegemony forces to see it. Captain Shepard's face appeared on their communication systems. This is Captain Laura Shepard of the Earth Defense Force Vessel Defender. That was a demonstration of one ship with our new technology. We have 17 more getting ready to launch. Unless you want to see what they can do together, I suggest you leave our solar system immediately. She cut the transmission before they could respond, and the Defender phased back into its quantum indeterminate state. Status of the enemy flagship? Shepard asked. Major damage to engines and weapon systems, Reed reported. They're leaking atmosphere from multiple decks. The smaller vessels are moving to defensive positions. Captain, Lieutenant Parker, called from communications. We're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. General Wilson's face appeared on the tactical display. Captain, our Moon Observatory reports multiple new contacts entering the system. It appears the hegemony has called for reinforcements. Continue with the mission, but be aware. The situation has gotten worse. Shepard acknowledged the order, her expression grim. Helm, plot an intercept course with the nearest hegemony support vessel. Let's show them this wasn't just luck. As the Defender moved to attack its next target, the crew couldn't know that their actions had triggered something that had never happened in hegemony history. Real fear among the Empire's leadership. For the next 6 hours, the Defender continued its hit-and-run attacks on the hegemony fleet. 3 patrol ships destroyed, 2 transport vessels disabled, a sensor relay station reduced to floating debris. Each attack followed the same pattern: appear from nowhere, strike with weapons that ignored shields, disappear before the enemy could respond. In the Earth Command Center, General Wilson watched the battle unfold on the tactical screens. The Defender is performing beyond expectations, Dr. Roberts said with obvious pride. The entropy cascade weapon is 43% more effective than our simulations predicted. Admiral Davis nodded. But there's a problem. Look at the hegemony's response pattern. On the display, the alien vessels were changing their formation. Rather than clustering together for protection, they were spreading out across the system in a complex pattern. They're adapting, Wilson realized, minimizing the damage any single attack can do. Not just that, said Admiral Chen, studying, the data scrolling across her screen. They're modifying their sensor arrays. Each time the Defender phases back to normal space to fire, they gather a little more data. Given enough time, they might find a way to track it even in quantum state. Wilson frowned. How long do we have? At their current rate of adaptation? Maybe 48 hours before they can start tracking the quantum fluctuations, Chen estimated. Then, we need to accelerate our plans, Wilson decided. Contact Captain Shepard. Tell her to focus all attacks on their command and control vessels, and get me the Security Council. It's time to discuss Phase 2. As the message was relayed to the Defender, Captain Shepard listened with growing concern. The element of surprise wouldn't last forever. Soon they would need a new advantage. Program a jump to these coordinates, she told the navigation officer, highlighting a position directly behind the hegemony's newly arrived reinforcement fleet. Let's introduce ourselves to the newcomers. As the Defender prepared for its next attack, Zarketh was sending an urgent message to the Hegemony High Command. The humans possess technology beyond our understanding. Request immediate reinforcements and tactical advisors. This will not be the simple integration we anticipated. The battle for humanity's future had only just begun. 3 days into the war, the command center under Cheyenne Mountain buzzed with activity. Screens showed the positions of hegemony ships throughout the solar system, along with updates from the Defender as it continued its surprise attacks against the invaders. They're learning faster than we expected, General Wilson admitted, looking at the latest battle reports. Their new sensor arrays can detect the quantum fluctuations from the threshold drive. They can't target the Defender precisely, but they can figure out its general location. Dr. Roberts nodded grimly. The threshold technology was always theoretically detectable. We just hoped it would take them longer to figure it out. Admiral Nash called back from Europa after the first battle, pointed to a cluster of hegemony vessels near Jupiter. They're setting up a new command center in Jupiter's orbit. Their reinforcements have doubled their fighting strength. What? About our own reinforcements? Wilson asked. How many ships have been fitted with threshold technology? 3 destroyers and 5 frigates are ready, replied Admiral Davis. But we're running low on the exotic materials needed for the quantum displacement field generators. At current production rates, we can outfit maybe 5 more vessels before we run out of supplies. Nash's face darkened. That's not enough. Not against their numbers. We need a different approach, said Kevin Monroe, who had been quietly watching, from the corner of the room. As a civilian advisor, his presence in military planning sessions was unusual, but his insights had proven valuable. We're thinking about this wrong. We're using human tactics with alien technology, but we should be using human nature with human tactics. Explain, Wilson demanded. Monroe stepped forward. The hegemony operates like a single organism, centralized. Command, predictable responses, perfect coordination. But humans? We're chaotic, adaptive, and most importantly, we're survivors. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction-level threats and won through sheer stubbornness and creativity. He gestured to the display showing the hegemony fleet. They expect us to either surrender or fight in a normal way. They've never met a species that does neither and both at the same time. What are you suggesting? Nash asked. Guerrilla warfare across the whole solar system, Monroe replied. We have thousands of civilian ships throughout the system, mining vessels, transport ships, private yachts. Individually, they're no threat to the hegemony. But what if we equip them all with simple versions of the entropy cascade weapon? Not the full system, just enough to pose a threat to their smaller vessels. Davis looked doubtful. A civilian militia against a galactic armada? Exactly, Monroe nodded eagerly. Because that's what they won't expect. Their computer simulations will tell them that civilians should be running, hiding, or surrendering. They won't account for delivery drivers and asteroid miners suddenly becoming guerrilla fighters. Wilson considered this for a long moment. Dr. Roberts, can we create simplified versions of the Cascade weapon that could be fitted to civilian ships? Roberts was already making calculations on her tablet. We would need to strip down the design a lot. Range would be limited to very close engagement, and the effect would be much less powerful. But, yes, it's possible. We could use the existing communication network to distribute the instructions system-wide. And while the civilian fleet harasses their patrols and supply lines, Nash added, understanding the strategy, our threshold-equipped military vessels can focus on their capital, ships and command centers. Monroe nodded. Humans don't fight like an army. We fight like a virus, adapting, spreading, exploiting weaknesses. The hegemony has never faced that before. For the first time in days, Wilson allowed himself a small smile. Make it happen. In the Jupiter system, aboard the mining vessel Lucky Strike, Joe Winters received the encrypted message from Earth Command. The rough-looking miner had spent 20 years in the asteroid belt, extracting precious metals from rocks that had been floating in space since the solar system formed. Well, I'll be damned, he muttered, studying the instructions that had just appeared on his ship's computer. The message was clear. Earth needed every ship, every person capable of fighting. He opened a channel to the small community of independent miners scattered throughout the outer system. Boys and girls, seems like the aliens picked a fight with the wrong species. Earth Command is sending us plans for a weapon we can build from mining equipment. Who's in? The responses came in immediately, dozens, then hundreds of civilian vessels across the solar system, volunteering to become an impromptu militia. Aboard the Defender, now hiding in Saturn's rings to make emergency repairs, Captain Shepard received word of the new strategy. It's crazy, Commander Garcia said, reading the orders. Civilians against warships? It's human, Shepard replied. And it might just work. She turned to Lieutenant Parker. Open a channel to all Earth Defense Force vessels with threshold capability. It's time to coordinate our efforts with the civilian fleet. As the human resistance organized, the hegemony forces found themselves increasingly confused and frustrated. Their carefully planned integration operation was being disrupted not just by advanced Earth warships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, but by swarms of primitive vessels that should have posed no threat at all. On the new command ship, the Unyielding Order, Zarketh received increasingly worrying reports. 3 patrol vessels destroyed near the Mars orbital lanes, Vexlor reported. Attacked by mining ships that self-destructed after causing damage. 2 supply transports, ambushed near Europa, added another officer. The human vessels used their own ships as weapons, ramming our vessels at maximum speed. Zarketh's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep disturbance. They are behaving irrationally. Our studies indicated they would value self-preservation. They do, said Vexlor slowly, but it appears their definition is different from ours. They seem willing to sacrifice individuals for collective survival. Change our tactical approach, Zarketh ordered. All vessels are to maintain distance from any human ship, regardless of its apparent capability. And send word to the High Command. Request additional forces immediately. What Zarketh couldn't know was that the human resistance was just beginning. 2 days later, a fleet of 30 civilian mining vessels approached a hegemony fuel depot near Saturn. Each ship had been hastily equipped with a rudimentary entropy cascade emitter. None of them had military-grade shields or weapons, but they had something the hegemony couldn't understand: volunteers who knew they might not return. Remember the plan, Joe Winters told the makeshift fleet. Get close, fire once, and scatter. Don't try to be heroes. But when the hegemony patrol, ships opened fire, destroying 3 mining vessels before they could even fire their weapons. Something changed in the human response. Instead of scattering as planned, the remaining ships accelerated directly toward the alien vessels. "What are you doing?" Winters shouted over the comm channel. "Stick to the plan." "New plan," came the reply from Maria Diaz, piloting the lead ship. "For Earth." The civilian vessels slammed into the hegemony ships at full speed, their entropy cascade emitters activated on impact. The resulting explosions tore apart both human and alien ships alike, but when the debris settled, the entire alien patrol had been destroyed. Winters stared at his sensor display in shock and grief. Then slowly he opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Lucky Strike. Saturn defense operation complete. We lost most of our people. But the aliens lost everything." In the command center on Earth, Admiral Nash listened to the report with a heavy heart. "They sacrificed themselves, as humans have always done when their backs are against the wall," Monroe said quietly. "The hegemony will never understand that about us, and that's why, despite all their technology, they will lose." 1 month into the war, the solar system had become a graveyard of ships, both human and hegemony. The civilian militia had paid a terrible price, with thousands of vessels destroyed and tens of thousands of lives lost. But for every human ship destroyed, they had managed to damage or disable an enemy vessel through sheer determination and sacrifice. In deep space, beyond Neptune's orbit, the Defender emerged from quantum indeterminacy to make contact with the hegemony's newest flagship, the Eternal Ascendants. This time, Captain Shepard requested the meeting. Zarketh agreed, curious about what the humans could possibly hope to achieve through talking at this stage. The 2 commanders met via hologram, Shepard standing tall on her bridge, Zarketh with his senior officers. "Your resistance has been impressive, if futile," the alien commander admitted. "Is this a surrender?" "No," Shepard replied calmly. "This is a warning." She nodded to Lieutenant Parker, who transmitted a data package to the hegemony vessel. "What is this?" Zarketh demanded. "Details of a weapon we're about to use," Shepard explained. "Our scientists call it the Solar Cascade. In 3 days we will activate a network of devices that will channel the entire energy output of our sun into a system-wide entropy cascade." One of Zarketh's officers examined the data, then whispered urgently to him. The commander's posture changed, the alien equivalent of shock. "This would destroy your own world," he said, his translated voice filled with disbelief. It would damage it severely, Shepard acknowledged. But we've made preparations. Humanity will survive. Your forces in this system will not. You would sacrifice your homeworld merely to defeat us? The concept seemed to disturb the alien commander deeply. We would sacrifice anything to remain free, Shepard corrected him. This is not a bluff. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy notice so you have time to save your people. You have 3 days to remove every hegemony vessel from the Sol system. The High Command would never approve such a retreat, Zarketh started. Shepard cut him off. Then don't ask. Their permission. Save your people, Commander. Run. Because in 3 days, everything in this system with hegemony signatures will cease to exist. She ended the transmission, leaving the alien commander staring at empty space. For 2 days, the hegemony didn't move. Earth continued its preparations, both for the solar cascade and for the evacuation of as many people as possible to shielded underground facilities. Then, on the morning of the 3rd day, sensors detected movement. Throughout the system, hegemony vessels began pulling back from their positions. Within hours, the entire fleet was in full retreat, accelerating toward the outer boundaries of the solar system. In the war room beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Earth's leaders watched in amazed silence as the alien ships fled. They're actually leaving, whispered Admiral Davis in disbelief. As the last hegemony ship crossed Neptune's orbit, they transmitted a final message. To the leadership of Earth, the hegemony is withdrawing all forces as requested. I have sent my personal ship to the High Command with full documentation of your species' capabilities and unique psychological profile. I am recommending that humans be classified as extremely dangerous, not to be engaged without overwhelming force. There was a pause before the alien commander continued. In 17 centuries of expansion, the hegemony has never encountered a species willing to destroy its own world, rather than accept integration. I have ordered a warning beacon placed at the boundary of your system with a simple message for any hegemony vessel that might consider entering your territory in the future. The transmission concluded with a single word. Run.